Like other female characters introduced in the Fred Wolf cartoon, she was established as a romantic interest. However, the two writers who worked her into their stories made sure to expand her world and personality so that this couldn't be her only character trait. Over time, the character made it into the pages of the Saturday Morning Adventures, where we finally found out why we never heard from her again. Join me today as I explore Lotus Blossom, the masterless kunoichi from the 1987 cartoon. Himiko, as she's now known, always felt a little out of time. Since the age of 10 in Japan, she trained in martial arts and eventually defeated all the ninja masters she encountered. Over time, this skill set became her way of life, and she became a mercenary, a masterless ninja for hire who would always leave a lotus blossom as her signature after a job done. Being such an equal opportunities tyrant, Krang hired Lotus Blossom to do what the Shredder and his henchmen couldn't, to put an end to the turtles. Of course, the three villains didn't take this challenge well, and after being humiliated by her, they abandoned the Technodrome. Lotus and Krang worked very efficiently together. Lotus stole a scent analyzer from a perfume manufacturer, and then some turtle genetic code. After loading it into the analyzer, she was able to track the turtle lair in the sewers. With a group of footbots, Lotus found and invaded the lair, kidnapped Splinter, and stole Leonardo's heart. While watching the news, Shredder figured out Himiko's location and took Bebop and Rocksteady to Aqualand, where April was bound to appear next. His new plan was to lead the turtles to Lotus's apartment to get back at Krang. When the turtles arrived, Krang threatened to throw Splinter out the window. Trying to find another way in, Leonardo got in through the back, where he had to fight Lotus. During the battle, he tried to win Lotus over to his side, but her code of honor wouldn't let her betray her client. When everything seemed lost and both the turtles and Splinter were under Krang's control, Shredder interfered and accused Lotus of conspiring with Leonardo and leading them to their hideout. Krang called off his deal with Lotus, which was all it took to turn her against them. After a huge fight, Krang returned with Shredder, Bebop and Rocksteady, and Lotus helped the turtles defeat the Footbots. The turtles tried to convince Lotus to join them in the fight against evil, but Himiko didn't see the point. After all, there was money in crime. The turtles went back to the sewers, but Leonardo couldn't stop thinking about his heartbreak. While trying to cheer him up, the turtles received a mysterious pizza delivery with a lotus blossom topping. After delivering that, Himiko reflected on the possibility of one day fighting alongside Leonardo. The turtles crossed paths again with Lotus after preventing the theft of the urn of Chakahachi. The thieves left the urn behind, but took a big pearl that was on its side. The shop owner was installing a security system because it was the third time someone had tried to steal it. So he asked the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to keep it safe until the installation was finished. This triggered another nightmare for Lotus Blossom, who had been dreaming about Chakahachi every time the urn was in danger. And in this latest dream, she saw the turtles there. It was time for her to figure out what her dreams were trying to tell her. Shredder learned that the urn of Chakahachi was in the turtles' hands and decided to put a plan in motion to steal it, since the legend said whoever owned it would have the ultimate power in the universe. He decided not to trust his henchmen and instead used the technology at hand to appear before Lotus as the ghost of Chakahachi, lying to her by claiming she was a descendant of the Chakahachi clan and that she had to return the urn to regain the clan's honor. Lotus tracked down the turtles, who agreed to take her to the urn so they could buy some time to convince her. When they arrived, Splinter, who had been studying clan history all day, told her she couldn't be from that clan and that it was very likely a trick to pressure her into stealing the urn. Lotus was doubtful and frustrated, not only because of the dreams that she had been having, but also because it would have made her happy to find a connection with old Japan, as she always felt out of time. Splinter told her the story of Chakahachi, a 16th century clan leader and powerful magician. The legend said he could create a pagoda with a wave of his hand. But he died while searching for his kidnapped wife, which started the curse of Shakuhachi. His soul would never rest until he could find his wife again. The Turtles and Lotus took the urn back to its owner, but were intercepted by Bebop and Rocksteady, who, of course, dropped and broke it. This unleashed the real ghost of Shakuhachi, who was furious at the absence of the pearl. This pearl had the power to recreate his old Japan in the urn. Without it, he wouldn't be able to find his wife. So he started turning New York into 16th century Japan. Leonardo and Lotus Blossom went out to recover the pearl, while the other turtles kept Shakuhachi entertained. When they returned with the pearl, Shakuhachi met Lotus Blossom and realized she was his wife. More specifically, the spirit of his wife was living inside Lotus Blossom. He freed her from Himiko's body, and they both went back into the urn, where they were finally able to rest in peace. Without the weight of that old soul anchoring her to 16th century Japan, Lotus Blossom finally felt like she belonged in the modern world. In retrospect, one could think that if it hadn't been for that old soul, Himiko may have never had the drive to become a mercenary and eventually reunite with the ghost of Shakuhachi. Thanks to the Saturday morning adventures, Lotus Blossom's arc got a most welcome expansion. It was revealed there that, after the ghost was released, she no longer wanted to be a mercenary. She retired and moved to Boston, Massachusetts, where she opened a martial arts dojo. But her retirement got cut short after Bebop, Rocksteady, and Old Hob showed up at her dojo and threatened to hurt her students if she didn't take on a special job. Himiko had no choice but to accept the job, which required entering the turtle lair and stealing their portable dimension portal. To do this, Himiko helped Leonardo fight Toka and Razor, and after the fight, she warned him about Krang's plans and how she had been pressured to steal from them. But this was all a trick. Himiko placed a remote-controlled gas grenade on Leo's shell, and when he reached the lair, she put all the turtles to sleep. Splinter returned home early and captured Himiko, who now had no choice but to tell the truth. Finding her situation relatable, Splinter encouraged the turtles to help her cause. As a result, Donatello came up with a plan to give her their old portal, but with a subtle flaw. Himiko used the portal to get out of her obligations with Old Hob, but also threatened him, dissuading him from ever attempting to hurt her students again. While the portal eventually exploded after one use, it didn't stop the rest of the Pantheon and Orokusaki from making it into our dimension. But that's a story for another video. Lotus Blossom was created for the third season of the original TV show in 1989. Jack Mendelson, the showrunner, asked writer Doug Molitor to write a story with the title Beware Lotus Blossom, and his instructions were to introduce a female ninja who was working for Krang. Doug then came up with the rest of the details about Lotus Blossom, like her being a Ronin. And her love interest with Leonardo came about because she gave him a relatable story, as writers often had trouble finding interesting plots for him. Lotus Blossom's second story, where the wife of Shakuhachi was introduced, was written by David Wise, and it was her last appearance on the show. She was voiced by Renee Jacobs, who also voiced April. When her story was expanded in the pages of the Saturday Morning Adventures, she was given the name Himiko, the actual reading of the name Pimiko, which was already used in TMNT Volume 3 for Shredder's daughter. Whether this was simply an homage or a hint at a future identity, only time will tell. Interestingly, Pimiko also ambushed the turtles in their own home. Still, that story took a much darker tone that I'll cover in another video soon. Since the Fred Wolf universe is still ongoing in the comics, it's only a matter of time until Lotus Blossom's return. And here are a few more interesting facts. The scent analyzer from her first appearance was used again in the Turtles Forever movie to track down the 2003 lair. It's fascinating that such a useful device wasn't used more. The character appeared in video games like TMNT Mutant Madness and the fan-made game TMNT Rescue-Palooza. And in 2023, NECA released her action figure in a 2-pack with Shakuhachi. If I remember correctly, this was the only action figure release of Lotus Blossom so far. The one thing that becomes apparent as you go through Lotus Blossom's story is how each writer added a new layer to the character, from being a very talented kunoichi to being the host of an old soul, to finally being named Himiko and teaching martial arts. She could have been used as a gimmick, but writers always found interesting stories to tell with her, and made sure to give her a fitting personality within the TMNT mythos. What are your thoughts on the many twists and turns in the story of Lotus Blossom? Do you like how her story was expanded on by the Saturday Morning Adventures? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the sewers.